All right. Hi, ladies, MOMnation. We are doing a live and learn, and you're probably looking at me like, what the heck? You're not Katie. But Katie's a little under the weather today, and we wanted to make sure that we could get this awesome information out to you guys. So if you're not familiar with live and learns are this awesome thing that MOMnation has been doing for quite some time, where we come on with other members or mamas as often as we can, probably like once or twice a month. And we do it for about 20 to 30 minutes where, we have an awesome mom member who wants to come in and teach us something. So they're either sharing with us tips, tricks, or some sort of skill knowledge on a topic that they can speak about. Again, teaching us something that we can walk away with, knowing more about it and be able to hopefully use right away. So this is Cara Lever with Taking Cara Women. And you probably see her on Facebook quite a bit, or in the group quite a bit. She is amazing and super knowledgeable on so many health related topics. And so the topic of today is, well, kind of a, I don't know, you can let you tell us, Cara.
Well, I guess we could call it burnout and fatigue, right? Yeah, thank you. My name is Cara. I own Taking Cara Women. I specialize in holistic women's health. So we do everything naturally with holistic food and stress reduction techniques. And we really specialize in adrenal burnout and fatigue, but really those mystery illnesses that women aren't really getting any answers for from doctors. They're not feeling heard. They go in once and then they tell them to try something and then they have to wait another 6 months before they can go back, and they're, really not making any headway. And in the meantime, they're missing out on their kids' activities and their kids' lives. And, they're just not really feeling like they're living up to, the quality of life, exactly the quality of life that they want to, be living in. And so we have a couple of unique tools here that we use to gather information from people and give them solutions according to what their body's asking for. So we're really not guessing. We do look at blood labs if people have it. We do, we can send out for blood labs, but we typically like to use what we call bioresonance, which is asking the body a question and receiving the answer. So we do quantum biofeedback, which can test you for 24,000 frequencies. But the thing I love about the hair analysis that you did, Ashley, is that it's a bioresonance scanner, but it will actually prioritize your areas of your body that you need, to pay attention to first.
Right.
And so when women come to us with, fatigue, burnout, weight gain, hair loss, hormonal imbalances, you may go to a hormone doctor, but you actually need to start on your gut. Or, you may check your hormones, but it's actually your adrenals. And so there's a lot of things that regular blood labs and, one quick 15-minute session with your doctor might not tell you. But the hair analysis, because it's gathering information from your body, looking at a wide spectrum of things from hormones to adrenals to digestive health to detoxification pathways to brain health to sleep patterns to hydration, it will really prioritize what your body is missing and what's in excess, like maybe heavy metals or radiation or toxins or anything like that. Yeah. So today, because, we did your consultation, what was it, 2 weeks ago now? So we've been kind of holding out for this to do your review. So we'll go ahead and show your report. But yeah, if you want to hold it up so you can see show them how thorough it is and what they get.
So I printed it out, guys, and this thing is almost 40 pages long. I mean, I don't know if I can, it's thick, it's dense. And looking through it, I mean, I'm glad we're doing this live because I'm wanting to hear from you what your take is on my personal report, but it breaks it down so easily. I was honestly shocked. Like, I'm reading through it all and trying to okay, what steps can I take? And there's literally like a 90-day plan that step 1, step 2, do this, do that. And I don't know. Anyway, it's just, I'm really happy with it. But
it's amazing. And it can be overwhelming because there is a lot, but what it tries to do is it tries to highlight the areas of focus.
Mhm.
And so a typical session is they come in, we pull their hair sample immediately when they come in, and we get that entered into the system, and then we send it off, and we get the results back in 15 minutes.
Mhm.
So we typically use that first 15 minutes to talk with you about what symptoms you're having. I tend to go all the way back to your childhood. Did you have a lot of ear infections? How was your stress level? Were you on a lot of antibiotics? Did you have to take medications? Did you move a lot? Were you bullied in school? Because all of these stress factors will play into adrenal burnout and fatigue, but also things like chronic strep infections, like strep throat, bronchitis, sinus infections, things like that. And so I really ask a lot of questions because I want to not just look at like what's happening right now, but what happened, 20, 30 years ago
Was
too.
building up to this. Yeah.
Exactly. And so when we look at, so after we get your results back, then we spend the next 45 minutes of that first hour going over the whole report with you. Now you did yours similarly to how we do it at our pop-up. You come in on a 15-minute appointment. We just have a party where we have like a bunch of people come in at once. And we have, we just set up a separate appointment where we go over the report for an hour.
Mhm.
And then part of that, after about 7 to 10 days after you do that initial session, we end up doing a plan of action session, because now you have all the information, but what do I do about it? Right. And so we never want women, we have enough overwhelm in our life. We have enough stress in our lives. We never want women to leave here feeling like, number one, they don't have a plan. Number two, where do I start? Or number three, like they're just too overwhelmed. And so they won't do anything.
Yeah.
So we always make supplement recommendations, lifestyle changes, things like that. And then sometimes people, decide to stay with us and work with us on a regular basis. And sometimes they try it on their own and come back 3 months later. So Ashley, if you're okay sharing your report, I would love to just kind of show them what a report looks like.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So
I
I'll
very much want
share.
to go over it with you. So.
Awesome. I will share your report right here.
Okay.
Can you see that okay?
I can. Yes.
Okay,
I don't, what I'm forgetting here. This is why Katie's so much better at this than me. I need to actually pull up the comments in the group and see if we've got questions coming in. So I'll do that.
Cool. So I'll just start explaining it while you're doing that. So this is just the title page, and then this explains what it is and how it works and all the doctors that are behind it. This is all over the world. So the server is actually in Germany. So when we scan your system, it sends all your data over to Germany. It runs it through an algorithm, and then it sends it back. So 15 minutes. I mean, when back in the day when I was doing hair analysis, it used to take 4 to 6 weeks to get your results back. So this is immediate.
Yeah.
So this is your summary page. Now, Ashley and I had talked a little bit about her symptoms, her primary symptoms, and her biggest issue was burnout, fatigue, feeling lethargic, maybe not having that kind of energy that she wants. And so I'm going to ramble off because I love teaching women about this, but I'm going to ramble off some symptoms that are indicative of adrenal burnout or adrenal fatigue. The first one is waking up in the morning, not feeling rested, even if you've slept all night. So Ashley, you can either agree or disagree.
Oh yeah, no, I agree.
Then we have a mid-morning crash between 9 and 11. So you feel good, your cortisol increases, you feel good throughout the morning, and then you might crash around 10, 10:30, sometimes 11, where you feel like you need a cup of coffee or you need a pick-me-up. So you either reach for sugar or caffeine. Sometimes women will be fine until about 2 to 4. So then there's another afternoon crash where you eat lunch and you feel good. And then you're like 3 o'clock rolls around right when it's time to pick up the kids and do homework and give snacks, and you're just exhausted.
That's me.
So another afternoon crash between 2 and 4. And then sometimes, not all the times, we have a cortisol spike at night, which we shouldn't. And we have a second wind, which feels like dirty kind of energy. And even though we've been tired all day, when we go to sleep, we can't fall asleep because our mind is racing. And then we wake up the next morning and that cycle starts over again. Other symptoms of adrenal fatigue are if you bend over and stand up, you get dizzy. You might have irregular cycles. You may start having panic attacks or general anxiousness. You may notice that's accompanied by heart palpitations or tightness in the chest. And it can also mess with your hormones, and it can also mess with your digestion. So long-term, it'll affect your thyroid. Thyroid can turn into autoimmune conditions, metabolism dysfunction, weight gain, inability to lose weight. And so there's a whole bunch of aspects of women's health that come back to the adrenals, because the adrenals are responsible for releasing stress hormones.
Yeah.
So on Ashley's summary page, what this is showing is it's showing the top 4 systems in her body that need the most attention right now. So the number 1 is adrenal system. So it's not uncommon for us to see this in women that are dealing with fatigue. And there are multiple tests that we can do in office that show adrenal burnout. And one of those, I'll just tell you something, you can either come here and we can test you with the other 3, or you can try this at home. But if you have a blood pressure cuff, you take your blood pressure lying down when you're calm, and your systolic, you'll write down your systolic and diastolic numbers. And so you'll write those down, and then you stand up and you immediately take it again. And then when you take your blood pressure, if your systolic number drops or doesn't increase by 10, then you know that you have adrenal burnout, because your adrenals are responsible for blood flow and circulation.
Mhm.
And if they're weak, they can't increase that circulation. And so it puts you, it'll show it right on the screen. I use a digital one, but it'll show you exactly where your blood pressure is. And if your adrenals are weak, it will drop, and significantly if they're really bad. But if it rises, that's good. And that means that your adrenals are fine. So then that's an indication that you may not have adrenal burnout. But I can honestly tell you, I've only tested 1 woman that did not have adrenal burnout. So adrenals and
Sorry,
go
we
ahead.
have a question that came in.
Mhm.
Punkette Betty's on with us right now, and she says, I dye my hair a lot. Can you still tell from that?
Yeah, so that's a great question, because people ask that a lot. We actually only use hair follicles. We don't use the hair itself. So the follicle is the bulb that's attached to your scalp. So we pull at the base. So we just use little tweezers, and we just get really close at the base of the skull, and then we pull real quick, and then we actually cut the rest of the hair off, because that bulb holds 3 to 4 months of data. And in that teeny tiny bulb, it'll give you all of this information. So people that are bald, we can actually use eyebrows, because you can get good bulbs out of eyebrows. You can also get it out of like mustache and beard hairs.
That's so cool.
It's
Okay.
kind of funny. So yeah, it doesn't matter if you dye your hair, but we don't do it if they've dyed their hair in a 24-hour period. So obviously we just wait and until the next day, or the week later or whatever. But that's a great question.
Yeah.
So adrenals and emotions are always linked, because emotions trigger the adrenals to fire. So when we see emotions come up on the system support summary, emotions mean that you're dealing with stress. And I mean, this comes up a lot, especially like after COVID and everything. But when you're stressed and there's a threat, your body releases adrenaline and cortisol. It's via your HPA axis, your hypothalamus, pituitary, and adrenal glands. I don't want to be too nerdy with you guys, but what you need to know is that every time you deal with a stressor, you release those stress hormones. Now, the cycle of those will actually come back up to the hypothalamus and shut down production of the thyroid hormones. But the adrenaline and cortisol surges through your body, and that can cause liver issues and gut issues down the road too. But what happens is, over long periods of time, the adrenals don't have enough energy to keep up with that demand. So when you've dealt with chronic stress for 10 years or 5 years or 3 years, and you're not nourishing the adrenals, then they burn out. And I explain this, if there's any other women business owners, I explain this as if you owned a business and you owned a flower shop and you had 3 employees. And when you open, you start them from 9 to 4.
Yeah.
And life is good, right? They're fine. They're not overworked. But then you get busier, and now they're working 9 to 5. And now they're working 9 to 6, and you take half of their lunch away. Like, they're going to get a little angry, and their production is going to slow down a little, right?
Yeah.
And then some people are going to call in sick sometimes. And so your adrenals can't function effectively the more you tax them. And so one of the biggest things that we see with women when they're dealing with burnout is they're so tired that their body's asking them to slow down, and it's asking them for rest. And so they drink caffeine to push through, and then the caffeine triggers the adrenal glands again. And then the adrenal glands are like, but I'm tired. And you're like, I don't care. Do it anyway. And so, when we reverse that, that's one of the things that we start looking at. And so adrenal burnout has, in my theory, 4 different phases. And I won't go into all those yet, but it affects cortisol. It'll affect your sex hormones, testosterone production, your sex drive. That's another symptom of low adrenal function, is a low sex drive. And so the adrenals are so crucial when it comes to energy and hormone balance and metabolism, but it's widely overlooked in traditional medicine. So we've had people like within 7 days totally turn around. Their energy levels have improved. Some of the groups in MOMnation, if you guys have done it, feel free to comment in this video. But it's phenomenal of what we can get and teach you and how to nourish your body based off just what it's asking for.
Yeah.
So then we see microbial balance that indicates good to bad gut bacteria. And Ashley, one of the other things that we had discussed was like chronic strep infections and like chest congestion. So strep has multiple different strains and it manifests in our body differently. So if you had a lot of ear infections or bronchitis or tonsillitis or strep throat as a child, and you gave it antibiotics, the antibiotics will make the strep strain stronger because it becomes tolerant to antibiotics, but it also lowers your good bacteria.
Right.
So you can have high bad bacteria and low good bacteria, and that's what this indicates. So gut issues, and then circulatory system. Now, a lot of people will relate this to the heart and the blood vessels, but I actually relate it to the liver, because the better your liver can do at its job and increase like creating bile, storing glucose, breaking down fats, synthesizing proteins, the cleaner your blood is and the more easily the blood circulates through the body. But then unfortunately with COVID, there's like a lot of blood clotting, there's a lot of stress on the circulatory system. We are seeing a lot more of that now. So it's just important to pay attention to anytime that comes up. And then the second portion, and this is still just on the summary page.
I know.
This is what amazes me.
This is why I wanted you to do this.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a lot to go over, but it's so it's just so informative. So these are foods that people are that you are sensitive to, Ashley. So one of the things that I'm going to be totally honest with you guys about is I don't give a lot of weight to food allergies, because I believe that if you tested your food allergies every day, they would be different every day. Mm-hmm. And the reason I say that is because when our body is in a heightened state of alert, everything that we eat in that heightened state, our body thinks is bad for us. So let's just say every morning you wake up and you have a bowl of oatmeal. And you have 3 kids and you're like, go get your shoes on, go brush your teeth. Did you get your backpack? Did you get your lunch? Where's your water bottle? Like you're all stressed. And then maybe your husband comes out and you're fighting with your husband. You're like, oh my gosh. And you're eating this oatmeal. And every morning that's your routine. Well, your body goes, man, every time I eat oatmeal, I feel like crap.
Yeah.
Right. And so it can't create an allergy to your husband or your kids. So it's going to create a sensitivity around the food that you eat when you're stressed. And wine is a perfect example. If you come home, you're tired, you had a long day, you want a glass of wine, your body goes, man, like this doesn't help my stress levels, right?
Yeah.
Or like a lot of times we see apples come up and women are like, oh my gosh, I eat an apple while I'm leaving work and I'm rushing to go get the kids in the pickup line, and so it's like that stress of, getting the kids and get in the car and hurry up, the teacher's waving at me,
Yeah.
So I always warn people, anytime there's stress and food involved, it leaves you susceptible for creating an allergy.
That makes sense. I wanted to get a food allergy test, but not as in-depth as the description as you gave, but I wondered, our bodies go through so much just on a daily basis. How is it? I know that obviously some people have dead set allergies.
Anaphylaxis is totally different. Yep.
Yeah. So, okay.
And then the solution for that is what? You're just never supposed to eat watermelon again.
Right. I love watermelon.
And that's the thing is I don't buy into the food allergy testing because it comes from the nervous system.
Yeah.
So when the nervous system is stressed, the food, and the reason I know that is because when I do biofeedback to clear allergies, I calm the nervous system. I introduce positive frequencies like unconditional love, joy, self-confidence, euphoria. We give the body positive frequencies, and then we reintroduce that food, and the nervous system goes, oh, this is okay. Yeah. So animal hair, dog hair, I mean, the biofeedback even has hamster hair in that, but any airborne allergens, pollens, food sensitivities, all of those can be rectified by calming the nervous system first. So yes, while this is important, and I let people know, I don't think that you should have to avoid specific foods for the rest of your life. Fortunately, we have something that can actually fix that. So then the third part down bottom is where it says category, indicator, and information right here. Now, amino acids are the end product of proteins, basically. So when you eat protein, your liver is supposed to synthesize protein, break it down into branched chain amino acids that you can use in your body. And if your liver is not functioning properly because there's some sort of gut disruption, then you're not going to absorb proteins as well or as effectively. So you may notice that, like, I'm working out and I'm, taking supplements and like I'm still not gaining muscle or I'm still not losing weight. These specific amino acids are more related to like neurological type stuff. So like anxiousness, memory, brain fog, stuff like that. And then we also see indications like B6, B9, B5. Those are all going to be very supportive of energy levels and adrenal glands, and also the liver and digestion. And then betaine is a digestive enzyme. Essentially, it's going to increase hydrochloric acid, and that will show up when people have poor digestion. So there's something that's really helpful you can do to see if you have good hydrochloric acid levels. And it's just a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda in 4 ounces of water first thing in the morning. And you just drink that baking soda water, and you should have a reaction in about immediately, ideally, but at least 2 to 5 minutes. Okay. Now, sometimes when I test people, they have no reaction at all.
When you say reaction, you're drinking it?
Yeah, you just drink the baking soda water. Okay. And because it's acidic, your stomach is going to neutralize the baking soda, and you'll start to burp. Okay. And if you don't burp, it's because you don't have enough gastric juices to neutralize the baking soda. And so that's another indicator that we need to work on the gut. Okay. Okay. And then this wheel is really just a graphic image of the systems. And so amino acids, I'm sorry, not the systems, the categories. So amino acids is number 1 priority. And then number 2 is vitamin deficiencies. Typically they're deficiencies, not always, but typically. And then it's paying attention to food. So there's something in here that you're eating that's causing a reaction for you. And it might be beef, it might be wine, it might be oranges, who knows? And then antioxidants. So antioxidants are also related to stress too, because antioxidants will fight free radicals that are caused by stress. And antioxidants, you've heard of like goji berries, acai, pomegranates, papaya, dragon fruit, like those are all superfoods. They're really high in antioxidants. And so those will fight free radicals, and they're also anti-aging. Awesome. So what we do in an actual session is we go through and we break down the whole thing, and we explain what each one of these are for and how they'll help you. And then another important thing to pay attention to is when we get to this page, this is page 4. Yes, it's highlighting the systems in your body that need the most support, but we're looking at the really, really big ones. And then if there's any little slivers, that's also an issue because it's usually more chronic. It's like a deeper issue. So your smallest one is hormones, which, like I was saying, the adrenals will always cause long-term hormonal imbalances. Right. So I would start with you for a plan. I would start with working on your gut and your adrenals first to get you more energy, get you sleeping better. And then we would retest in 90 days and see if hormones comes up as a priority. And then we would start looking at progesterone levels, testosterone levels, stuff like that. Okay. And then how much more time do we have, Ashley?
It is 11:56, so we still got a little bit more time.
Okay, are there any questions I need to answer before I go into all this?
Let me reopen it. Punkette's saying she's definitely going to try the arm pressure cuff thing.
Oh, let us know.
I know. I need to get one, I guess, but no questions yet.
They're like $30 on Amazon. So, you can get a blood pressure cuff. And then as you work on your adrenals, you can check your progress, which is, really helpful. And then we also do those tests in here too. So, looking at this, what we're looking at, this is your immune support score. So we're looking at things in your body that you may or may not be deficient in, or things that are maybe taxing your system, and they're assigned a point value. So we want this number as low as possible. This is where it gets confusing for a lot of people, because this means you need higher support. Now, Ashley, this isn't actually a really bad number. We see people all the time at like 90, 105, 88, 67. So even though it's high, it's not that high.
Yeah.
And, you know, if we put you on a good B complex, that would lower the score by 7. Got you an iron supplement, that would lower by 2. But this is a big one. So gluten, not only does it have like inflammatory factors that inflame the gut, but it will also contribute to fatigue, brain fog, pain, inflammation, digestive issues, constipation, neurological type stuff. So when this comes up, I always make a note to talk to my client about it, because it's super, super hard for people that aren't gluten-free to cut out gluten, because it's in everything and it's just not something that they have the education to just switch right into. But what I try to do is I try to have them cut it out for 10 days just so they can see what an impact it has on their life. And what's funny is sometimes they don't notice too much, but then when they start to incorporate it back, they're like, their brain fog comes back. They started having those migraines again. You know, they were constipated and they didn't even realize that it was because of gluten until they cut it out. So that's just something I always have people try, because gluten is just really, and it's not even, let me rephrase this, because it's not even really gluten, it's our gluten. It's MSGs, it's GMOs, it's pesticides, it's our body not being able to break down those proteins anymore because it's not really like food. You know, whereas if you went to Italy, you could eat anything you want and you wouldn't have the same reaction. So it's just different. It's different here. The quality is lower. And then this is gut support. And so this is where we see bacteria. And we were talking about this earlier, the different strains of strep and how they can affect your, you know, they can cause sinus infections, ear infections, UTIs, yeast infections, IBS, Crohn's disease, celiacs, bronchitis, strep throat, ear infections. I think I said that.
Yeah.
But when we see bacteria show up, that is typically indicating bacteria in the gut. And then remember, we also saw microbial balance show up on the first test too, or the third page. And so how emotions plays into your digestion is when we go into fight or flight, and we're supposed to fight or flee, but we don't, those hormones have to go somewhere, right? And they typically get dumped into the liver for processing. But a couple things happen when we go into fight or flight. Number one, your immune system shuts down, because if you're running from a bad guy down an alley, your body's like, oh, now's a good time to fight off that virus, right? So you get sicker easier because of stress. And then your digestion shuts down too, because it's not important to break down dinner if you're running for your life. So if you live in a constant state of fight or flight, or if you live in a constant state of stress, you're not even aware that these systems aren't functioning at their optimal levels. And so this is an indication of that. And so betaine would help build up those digestive enzymes. We would monitor your emotions and do more like maybe biofeedback or red light therapy, maybe some cranial sacral to activate your parasympathetic nervous system. And everything that we do here is regulating the nervous system so that you can actually be in a state of healing instead of a state of survival. And then this is the same, this is circulatory. So these are vitamins and minerals that would support your circulatory system. And then basically the rest of this is just everything highlighted is important, but these are also on the other pages too.
So yeah, I noticed at the top it says priority.
And we really try to only pay attention to the ones that say priority or advise. Because if you look at all of them, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm deficient in so many things. But the reason it highlights things is because it doesn't want you to get overwhelmed. So we just try to keep that in mind and, incorporate things that are going to support them the best. And then I'll show you the last couple pages. There's even more information. So this is food additives, and this is really important for people. So C-ascorbic acid, vitamin C. This is a synthetic or lab-made form of vitamin C. It's not from food. And there's a lot of people that have some resistance to this. So that can cause gut issues. We see aluminum sulfate. That's a heavy metal that can cause like nervousness, anxiety. Metals are really small particles that can tend to pass through the blood-brain barrier and accumulate in the nervous system. Like the neurons of the brain cause ADD, ODD, OCD, ADHD. So these are things that are not only in foods, like processed foods, but they're also in body wash, shampoo, lotion, you name it. So they're also in products. And then this last page, this is the 90-day plan that you were talking about.
Yeah.
And if you click on any of these red links, it'll actually open up an entirely separate PDF, and it'll give you more information on electromagnetic frequencies, gut support, toxins, you name it.
Okay.
Okay. And then again, at the end, these are all the things that you were deficient in. And then this is how you can start incorporating foods to get those vitamins and minerals. But we typically will recommend these, but then we also typically put people on supplements that are pre-digested because they get more out of them that way, especially if they have absorption issues already.
Right.
So like adrenal support, methylated B vitamins, probiotics, iron supplements, amino acids, just depends on what your body needs. So you and I will set up a plan of action
Yes.
session where I can tell you what I want you to start with.
Okay.
But I won't waste everybody's time with that. So
Just something to add here that I read. So you want to, there's the other pages where it talked about the foods that you want to exclude or take out of your daily intake. That last list there might have them in there. And so you just need to know that you're not going to incorporate those.
exactly. Yep. I just have them cross-reference their no list
Yeah.
with, and I just, usually we print this for them when they're in office too. And so we just have them cross out whatever they're not allowed to have.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yep. Thanks for bringing that up.
Awesome. Let me go back in here
Cool.
and refresh comments. Hi, Amy Taylor. All right, ladies, if you guys have any questions for Cara, obviously, pop them down in the replay or the comments of the posting, and she will be happy to answer any questions that you guys have. Cara, how can they get in touch with you if they, want to take the first steps of figuring out what their body needs and how to get back to
we do a lot on Facebook. We dabble a little bit on Instagram, but it's Taking Cara Women on Facebook, Taking Cara Women on Instagram, Taking Cara Women at Gmail, and takingcarawomen.com.
Okay.
So,
and we'll actually have, I think I already put it in the caption of the posting. So they'll have at least the Facebook information and reaching out to you there. So,
okay.
anyway,
Perfect.
thank you for coming on, and thanks for
You're
being
so
willing
welcome.
to-
Thanks for being willing to share your report.
Yeah, of course. I feel like there's still so much to dive into, but I'm super happy that you're able to do this.
Okay.
Thank
All right,
you.
Ashley.
All right. Bye,
Take
ladies.
care. Bye.